How do you find out the habits of your audience?
That's a really good question, and it's not always going to happen on social media. So depending on what your audience is, I've spent 8 hours watching people come in and out and get licensing things, at licensing divisions just to see what the process is like. I've spent days going from Best Buy to Best Buy and watching just the female customers and how do they shop. Part of what I do, and part of how I ended up going from anthropology to advertising, is my goal going through school was becoming a profiler. And so there's that. It's really important, beyond the social media aspect, it's really important to be able to take your audience and take it from the blended demographic that so many of us work with to some subsets. We can't, as anthropologists, look at America and talk about Americans. It's very, it's only useful if we're comparing them against Spanish or Chinese. It's only useful when they're different than something else. And so you can't take your audience and talk about it as one group. You really need to break it down into several groups. And that's an exercise that needs to be done for offline purposes as well. And if you need help with that, finding someone like myself or research firms or doing the research yourself, there's several different ways to do it. Our firm does that. But I highly recommend developing those profiles and understanding those habits and having somebody on your team for marketing in general that has the capability of doing that. Once you have that information, once you understand that the type of person buying this good is called a dashboard contractor, then you can understand that it's better to spend your money in mobile than social, for instance. So that's a question that you can get some observation. If you find the groups that are interested in this and you simply monitor and monitor and monitor and monitor and then distill down your observations, you can do it that way. But that's just something that that you got to get at the heart of and really find out. And if you have somebody that has a profiling bent participating in your marketing, they can tell you, this audience falls into the rational category, and the rational category has this type of skepticism, and they like this type of book, and they can make some assumptions based on behavior that they see, and so that shortcuts the process a little bit. But most companies know more of it than they think, and sometimes a 2-hour interview with what they know and somebody that is used to distilling that information can get to at least a better place quickly. And real quick, sales staff, they usually know it on an intuitive level. They just don't know they know it. They do. That's how they make sales.
What would you advise not doing?
Automated direct messaging. Thanks for following me on Twitter. Now download my free app, whatever you have it. Always telling people things without actually receiving and saying thank you. One-way conversations in real life are not very productive. And also having a production schedule for your blog is very, very helpful. That way you can maintain conversation on a regular basis so that you don't have a blog that has a 3-month lag. Think about your production schedules and have that feed into your general communication strategy.
Don't be afraid. You'd be really lucky if you embarrassed yourself in front of enough people. Because the problem with social media is a lot of people can't get a big enough audience. So don't be afraid, just get out there, make mistakes, get messy, and the successes are, something you can replicate over and over and over again.
So just not knowing, aside from joining more groups that are in Austin, how to start.
I don't use LinkedIn probably as much as I should. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I haven't done it yet. And the one thing I know I'm supposed to do is to answer people's questions. They have these ways that you can ask questions through the groups and through these other formal things, and then people can choose which answer they like the best. I think Yahoo has this as well. And then whatever gets the best answer wins. And then if you get a lot of winners and you get a lot of kudos, people think, oh wow, you're pretty smart. Apparently that's one of the ways that you can help to increase your profile and have people have greater respect for what you do, and then also to have as many people write recommendations for you on LinkedIn, both of which I have not done.
Finish this up.
The key to LinkedIn, if you have your own small business, the key to LinkedIn, if you're trying to drive business to you personally, is again mass, and that's part of what I discovered, not on purpose, but my husband and I were both signed up on LinkedIn for a year, nothing. We're like, what's the, you know, we get on, we try, we do this. I'm like, what is so great about this? Who could care? You can't really do that much with it. I just don't get it, you know? And then, I don't know how it happened, but seriously, we were staying up so late at night, trying so hard. I mean, I was going through like my high school yearbook and going, oh yeah, Alice Bybee, typing in her name, looking her up, you know, and the next thing I know, I had 300 contacts. And, you know, once I had a lot of contacts, it made a difference. Because at that point, all of a sudden I was reconnecting with people that I hadn't met before, and they were saying, what do you do? And a lot of the Facebook effect. And I could very honestly say, I do advertising, you need any? You know, and just be totally honest. And that's a real key, is to be really, really honest. If you're on there to build your business, build your business. And then more regularly, I started getting, you know, once every week, a digest report or an activity report, and I would scan it. And there would be people that were asking for advice on something, and because I had more contacts, there was greater likelihood there was going to be a question that had to do with me. And so it was really useless until I got a lot of people. So my recommendation is, don't do it at all. Don't spend any time at all unless you're going to go lock yourself in a room and look up everybody you ever knew and put everybody on there to where you get to the point where once a week there's going to be something, the activity report you care about. Or if you put a status report out, your status report is going to go to 300 people, and with like a 0.1% response rate, that's going to be something, you know? So mass, just like any other direct response medium, mass.
Well, and it kind of addresses your question, but it's very broad as a closing comment that I'd like to say that I know we all are very, very pressed in time, but I always say that if you want to be really good at something, you have to spend time practicing it. So if you want to be good at the violin, you have to practice playing the violin. So it plays beautifully, it's easy to pick up, and you only do it for a few minutes. So when you first get started, just commit to spending a lot of time figuring out what works for you and be okay with that. I'm going to hone myself up all day today and figure this out, and I'm going to spend some time with it for what feels right for me, what feels good for me, and I'm going to keep doing it. And then you get to a point where you don't have to do so much because what you're doing is working for you.